While I was working on my latest video, I saw a lot of buzz online about the latest adaptation show that came out, and when I saw that it was based on Fallout, I figured it would be a good opportunity to see how the show panned out from the perspective of a non-fan. So I've been minorly familiar with the franchise, but not enough to say that I've had experience with it at this point. But shockingly, the show was really good. On the first watch through, it was entertaining enough to keep me hooked on all the different plot threads going on, but the more I thought about the show after I finished it, the more I began to appreciate the finer details of the show as a whole, like the cinematography and the score, for example. But there's a specific trope that the show does really well that doesn't get used very often in the media landscape, and it's undoubtedly what's kept me, and I'm sure many other viewers, entranced through its duration: the Loss of Innocence trope. So, the Loss of Innocence trope is pretty straightforward. It's marked by a character whose journey forces them to deal with the hardships of life regardless of if they're ready to face them. That in turn brings about a dramatic and often permanent shift in the character, usually brought about by the destruction of a belief they held dearly in the past. Now you may be thinking that many villains embody this trope, but it's actually a little different. In that case, the villains often recount some traumatic event in their past that shifts them to villainy, but in the case of Loss of Innocence, we become familiar with the character before the change occurs, and we get a look at the process of them losing their innocence in real time. It's truly heartbreaking, but at the same time immensely intriguing, in a slow-motion train crash kind of way. One good example of this is the pilot for the Adult Swim show called Pibby, where a preschool cartoon mascot is confronted with an imminent threat for the first time.
What's that red water? I've never seen that before.
What Fallout does is exceptional because all three characters exhibit this trope to a degree. But for the majority of the story, we follow Lucy, whose entire plotline centers around her loss of innocence after leaving the security of the vault for the first time. It's so prominent that we even get a benchmark of her mental state through the use of her semi-catchphrase, "Okie dokie."
Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okie dokie.
We get to see how the environment around her chips away at the optimism for life that she clings to, even with the circumstances she finds herself in nearly getting her killed for upholding those beliefs. The tertiary protagonist, the ghoul, even goes out of his way to harass and outright torture Lucy to get her to break. Even in the face of adversity such as this, Lucy still chooses to show the ghoul mercy in his time of need, proving how resilient she truly is under the surface. There's one scene that stands out the most in this regard, and it's my favorite scene of the whole show: the standoff at the bridge.
How about, on the count of 3, we all raise up our arms? Okay, great. Hands up on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
At this point of the story, we're following Lucy, who just survived almost being killed for her organs, meeting up with Maximus and striking up a friendship while traveling together. The duo come to a bridge where on the other side is another pair of travelers, too far off to see if they're hostile or not. Maximus is immediately suspicious, which rightfully so, but Lucy takes this chance to try a peaceful solution, and to everyone's shock, it actually worked. Both parties raise their hands to prove they are unarmed while slowly advancing toward each other, while the gentle music in the background sets the tone for a breath of relief that things are finally going smoothly for once. But that too was part of the trick. She has an outburst once she catches up to reality, and it's truly a sad scene, because you get the feeling that things could have worked out had it been just a little bit different. This was the angriest she becomes in the whole show, but it's still not her breaking point, which comes later in the finale. Once she finds out the truth about her parents, the Lucy we were introduced to in the first episode is completely gone, as evident in her final okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
She's there, but she's changed it to something much darker. We're left on a cliffhanger about the plot points for season 2, but with how her character developed through the season, I think it's safe to say we're going to see a more proactive and hardcore version of the Vault Dweller, who no doubt picked up on some of the ghoul's mannerisms. In that same vein though, I think that's going to run at odds with Maximus when they eventually reunite. He's used to the sweet and caring Lucy, so whatever he witnesses her doing in season 2 is going to alter how he sees her permanently, and likely he'll view her as a threat of some kind. But yeah, this is just a quick rant because I thought the show was really neat, and the bridge scene really stuck out to me. Honestly, I think I might try out Fallout later down the line, because the lore is pretty intriguing.